Oh, hey Andrew, this is strange times.
It is strange times, Carol.
Tell us what's happening.
A lot. G'day, church.
Hi, guys.
Good to see you. Trust that you're doing well. Well, the pastors and the elders, we met last night just to talk about what our response is to the coronavirus and recognising that things are pretty fluid. So what I say today could actually change tomorrow.
Yeah.
We've also written a letter which goes into greater detail, which we'll send out at the same time as this video. But before we think about the detail, I just want to actually raise all of our eyes and just remember that our theme for this year has been brighter, and I really believe actually God has given us that theme. It's about being brighter in our love for Jesus, in our love for one another, and our love for this world. And in a funny and strange sort of way, I think this next season of church life just gives us a great opportunity to step up in all those areas. So we're going to learn new things about Jesus that we didn't know before. We're going to think about new and creative ways of being community. And we have an amazing opportunity to be salt and light, to be that city on a hill in our wider community.
Good opportunities.
I reckon.
So, and what are we doing about our gatherings? What's happening?
Yeah, well, I've spent all of my adult life trying to create community, and I know how difficult community is to create and to sustain. But unfortunately, we're going to have to close all of our church services and our major gatherings. And for the next season, we're just going to be gathering in smaller groups. That doesn't mean that we're going to stop being the church. We're just going to discover different ways of being the church. So, say with our Sundays, we're still going to be developing talks that we're going to send out. We're going to have a little series on lifting our eyes. So lifting our eyes to God and receiving the help that He can give us, but also lifting our eyes to one another, not just becoming, focused upon ourselves and our own little world, but looking at how we can be the body of Christ to one another. And so we'll develop a talk that will be sent out. There'll be notes that could be used in life groups, in families, for youth and for children. And so we'll be working really hard on all of that.
Excellent. Sounds good. And what about if we've got questions, we need some information, where's the best place to go?
Yeah, so all the pastors will be communicating with their ministry leaders. If you do have a question, our main line of communication, which we're going to try and step up over this next little while, will be through email, will be through Facebook, and we're going to be setting up a special page on our website, which will hopefully have as much information as possible around the coronavirus and our response to it. So we don't want anybody to feel kind of left out, and so if you do have a question, or if you do have a concern, or if you are feeling a little bit alone or fearful or isolated, we just want you to reach out because we want to get around you and support you. Also, life groups are going to be super important. And so even if you're not in a life group, could you contact Lara Riddler? There'll be everybody's details on that letter. And we just want to actually get around you and make sure that you're still in community during this time.
Sounds good. Okay. So what's your final message?
My final message, Carol. Well, hopefully it won't be my final message. Hopefully we'll just keep on talking to one another for a long period of time. But for this next season, and I don't know how long this is going to last, but I do pray that when we get to the end of it, that we might just be able to look back on this time and say, actually, that was a great time for our church. That as a church, we really came together and we were united. That it was a great time for our faith, that I actually just grew in my relationship with Jesus. And it's my prayer that our wider community might actually just stand in amazement and say, that church really stepped up and actually, they served and they loved us and they cared for us. And my heart is that through all of this, that we might see more people in more places making more responses to Jesus. And so I'm just praying that God can use this for good, and I believe that He will. And so, guys, I know it's uncertain times, but we just love you heaps and we're here for you. And if you're concerned, just reach out to us and we'll work our way through it. God bless.
Good. God bless.